So, there are a ton of really cool melee weapons when it comes to Fallout New Vegas. You have things like the Thermic Lance, the Chainsaw, the Ballistic Fist, the list goes on and on. Very few weapons, however, are as kind of mediocre and depressing as the 9-iron, which is going to be the focus of today's video. So, can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only the 9-iron? Okay, so before we jump into today's video, I feel like I owe you guys a bit of an explanation here since I've been gone for quite a while. So originally I planned to do this video about almost 4 weeks ago, and some stuff came up. As you can see, I have been missing for quite a while, and I do deeply apologize for that. I ended up having a dentist appointment, which kind of made my mouth pretty sore and not, really made me want to commentate anything, on top of having some IRL work to take care of. So that kind of perfect storm kind of delayed my content for quite a while. And then I went through some other stuff that I don't want to disclose, but we are back, so it's time to start today's run. Now, I figured I should make a kind of punk, fiend-looking character to kind of embrace this run, so that's exactly what I did before moving on to assigning specials. So for this run, I pretty much just maxed out anything that would help me with melee. Perception is absolutely useless, as is charisma for pretty much any New Vegas run, and strength at a 10 is obviously a must. I need as much damage as I can get pretty much humanly possible for the 9-iron, as it is a very awful weapon. For tag skills, I went with unarmed, speech, and melee weapons. Unarmed might seem like an awkward choice, but that will make sense later, mostly because I just want the piercing strike perk, so I kind of need to level up unarmed, and any help I can get doing that makes the run somewhat a little bit easier on me. Anyways, I went out into Goodsprings and kind of had to figure out where to get a 9-iron. Normally, I could have just went and got the unique one from one of the fiends, but I figured that's kind of cheating because 1, I can't get a 9-iron unless I kill them, and 2, I don't really use unique weapons on any of these runs, as I feel like it kind of defeats the purpose if I have a better version of whatever weapon I'm, using for the challenge. So it was off to Black Mountain to get the little shortcut off to the strip. I figured the easiest 9-iron for me to get, at least at the time that I was recording this and paying attention to the wiki, was in the King's little clubhouse. There's one upstairs, which would be the one that I was going for. I dealt with plenty of harassment on my way there, due to a bunch of raiders not really taking it kindly that I was running past them instead of giving me their items. I ended up stopping by RepCon to let the robots kind of kill one of the raiders for me so that I could steal their shit, and the robots nearly, burned each other alive as well, which is pretty ironic since they're supposed to be co-workers. But after that, it was a pretty quiet trip over to Freeside. I did get booped by a couple thugs inside, but I just left them to go into the King's clubhouse so that I could pick up the 9-iron. After that, of course, I had to test it by whacking everybody in the room with it. I really don't like this weapon. I don't know why this thing has the durability of a wet fucking spaghetti noodle, but that's about what it has. Its damage isn't too great either. I mean, it's the equivalent of like trying to beat a toddler to death with a teddy bear, so all around not a great weapon, honestly. I think the only melee weapon I can think of that's worse than it is probably the rolling pin. I stocked up on some supplies, dealt with a couple game crashes, of course, because Fallout New Vegas hates me for some reason lately, went back to Black Mountain to kill Tabitha with the 9-iron, which was pretty boring. I had to just kind of stun lock her into a corner with it to actually do damage to her, as otherwise she would pretty much just kill me immediately. I got assaulted by some fiends on my way to take out the boomers, which wasn't all that fun. It kind of made me regret my rule of, not letting myself use unique weapons on runs like this, because I'm sure Driver Nafai's golf club is a lot better than this one. I did take it to the boomers and beat Pearl to death, so at least it's good at killing unarmed old ladies. I also booped a child in the head for some reason before leaving. I honestly don't know my reasoning behind this. It's been so long since I've recorded this run. Some of the things I did, just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I just kind of, pretend that I was actually doing something productive, and we're just gonna move on. So I killed old Ben, headed into the strip, as I still had not yet been there. I didn't have the caps earlier to go in, I believe, so I needed to, kind of sell some guns from people that I had robbed. Well, I don't know if you can rob a corpse, but I took their shit anyways. First stop is, of course, killing the Omertas, and then heading over to deal with the White Gloves. I was going to just kind of take care of all the factions that I needed to right off the bat so that I could side with Yes Man as quickly as possible on this run. Since obviously I had to side with somebody that can kill Mr. House, it just doesn't make sense if I don't kill Mr. House with the golf club. The Great Khans were pretty easy, honestly. I kind of expected them to be hard. They do a lot of damage, but they don't really have armor, so that's pretty simple to deal with. I went back and stocked up on some supplies again at Chet because I was pretty depressingly low on healing items and needed pretty much everything I could get at this point, since I really was taking a lot of damage trying to use this damn weapon. And of course, next up is the Brotherhood, and you can imagine how that went. By this point, I at least had Super Slam though, so the Brotherhood wasn't all that bad if I didn't get knocked down and fucked to death with lasers, that is. But otherwise, the Paladins went down pretty quickly. As quickly as I can expect from a literal golf club, but that's an entirely different story. With most of the Brotherhood dead, I can't remember if I blew up the bunker or not. I killed the majority of them anyways. I finally went and dealt with Benny, which ironically enough I did not do until now. But, you know, it kind of makes sense for the run to do things out of order once in a while. I went and picked up Yes Man so that I could start doing his quests, and then came, of course, going and doing the boring stuff, like just killing Mr. House real quick. I just ran past all the Securitrons here because I really wasn't interested in finding out if I could kill Securitrons with a metal stick, basically. I did bonk Mr. House, who took 2 solid hits to die. That shows pretty much how weak this weapon is, if nothing else does. But, of course, with Mr. House out of the way, it was time for me to do some stupid things and go out into the strip and go on a killing rampage with said metal stick. I guess I did want to test out if I could kill robots with a metal stick, and surprise, surprise, it actually didn't do too bad against the Securitrons. You know, assuming I actually got decent crits and didn't get grenade launchered in 2 seconds, but, you know, that's, you know, glass half full. I gotta appreciate that the weapon was at least able to do some damage. Anyways, Yes Man indoctrinated himself into the Lucky 38. I spent way more time than I realistically should have AFK in this damn corner while watching the Securitrons be upgraded. I still have absolutely no idea what I was doing here. I sat here for probably 15 minutes after the demonstration had ended. When I was going through the footage here, I was just kind of confused as to why I picked this specific light bulb to just stare at in the corner of the room. And as it was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I'm not sure we're ever going to know why exactly I was doing this. But the most likely answer is that I was just probably grabbing something to eat, because I tend to do that in the middle of these runs when there's a boring segment, like this, or of course Kellogg's little memory segment. But it was time for me to go off to El Dorado and slaughter all the soldiers inside so that I could boop in the little control module, and then go back to Yes Man and let him know that it was time to start the second battle of Hoover Dam. Again, I went AFK at this door for no real apparent reason. The game crashed as soon as I started the second battle of Hoover Dam, because of course it did. I booped a bunch of Great Khans on the head, and actually took a couple heads off, and started dealing with the Centurions. Now, they were, I'm going to say, harder than the Brotherhood this time around, because they were mostly melee enemies, which means that they would block my hits, and then I would proceed to take a lot of melee damage from said enemies. Now, the Brotherhood were actually less challenging this time around because of the fact that they were using guns, and I could just stunlock them to death. See, the thing is, if you hit an enemy that is blocking with Super Slam and it knocks it down, you can't actually just infinitely swing on them while they're on the ground. It puts you in the little, you know, getting your weapon knocked away during the block animation, even while they're on the ground, which is severely aggravating against melee enemies, and it's also a reason why I'm thinking that the Legion was actually harder this time around than the Brotherhood. That, and what happened when I got to the Legate's camp. Now, the guards weren't all that bad. I could deal with them pretty regularly, like I always do. Dealt with a couple crashes as usual, because New Vegas is New Vegas, and then started trying to fight the Legate. Now, I was actually pretty confident going into this, as I had Piercing Strike and Super Slam, and I took a shit ton of drugs. I knocked the Legate down almost instantly, and then died. Second time around, again, I was pretty confident, as I took a lot of drugs, and then died. I died a copious amount of times here. I think this may be one of the hardest attempts I've ever had at killing the Legate. I don't know why, I was just getting absolutely truffle shuffled by the goddamn guards here. I would just die immediately. I'd have half HP, they'd hit me once with a ballistic fist, even though I was in full Mark II combat armor, and I would die instantly. I'm not sure if I was getting crits triggered on me, if I was just getting unlucky and multiple guards were hitting me at once and I wasn't seeing it, but I was losing pretty much all my health instantaneously. Eventually though, I did manage to get through all of the guards and kill the legate, and as soon as I went to go kill the last guard, General Oliver arrived and blew him away. Now, I was still having some PTSD attacks from all of the legates that I just had to deal with, so I went and hid behind a corner while I let the Securitrons deal with all the NCR. I wasted a lot of my healing supplies, and I was kind of scared about dying again, so I figured hiding was my best bet. But with that, I beat Fallout New Vegas with only the 9 iron. Terribly sorry this video is a tad shorter than expected. Normally I try to make them a bit longer for you guys, but I just didn't have any extra footage this time around, so I hope this can make do for now. As always, I appreciate you guys for hanging out and watching. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. I am terribly sorry about being gone for so long, but I should be back on my regular schedule right about now. And as always, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.